So we've looked at It's Good to Be With You, and this is the third video on this issue, is Adam a real person? I believe that this is important to talk about and discuss, and I hope it's a blessing to you. My website is jasonburnspreacher.com. You can get me on Facebook and Twitter. I put a lot of stuff about creation, so I hope it's a blessing to you. So we were talking about the issue of academic pressure on theologians, and that's why they go for this view that the Genesis 1, 2 and 3 is poetical and allegorical rather than historical. And my challenge to the theologians is that your responsibility is to please God rather than men. And if you please God and you're not promoted to the top academic post, then so be it. So you mustn't be ashamed of just following the Bible. And if the Bible contradicts modern science, if the Bible contradicts the modern academic prevailing views, so be it. Your responsibility is to be faithful to the Bible and to the Word of God as a theologian and as a pastor and preacher. And often we'll hear this statement bandied about: oh, you can't believe in creation that in 6 days. Nobody believes that. It's historically inaccurate. It's unscientific. It's just silly, and you put your brains at the back of a bus, and you're just crazy. And we hear these kind of derogatory remarks, and so people feel browbeaten by people who seem to come across as clever and intellectual. And my point to you and point to them is, so what? We're not here to please you, we're here to please God, and we're here to stand on His word. End of debate. Okay. Now, we have some more issues to talk about, that we need to talk about on this. A number of issues. I'm just trying to think of where to begin. There are theologians that will listen to these videos and then think, well, why are you making these videos? What is the point of these videos? The point of these videos is to be faithful to the Word of God, and if you're faithful to the Word of God, it does have implications. It has implications for the church. It has implications for society, and we'll go into that later. Now, though there are these sophisticated theologians have hermeneutical tools, ways of interpreting the Bible, where they will come at you and they will say, this is the BioLogos crowd. They're very sophisticated theologians. They've got PhDs. They've written massive tomes theologically. They have great reputations in the academic world, and they're seen as mighty theologians, and they take the view that Genesis 1, 2 and 3 is allegorical. And so a Christian listening to people like these theologians is going to feel completely intimidated and browbeaten by the sheer academic weight and ability of these great theologians. And they are great theologians, there's no doubt about it. Some of them have written massive tomes on various topics. So one has to realize that these theologians come in an academic flow. They come through Western academic scholarship. Western academic scholarship has been influenced by philosophy, and philosophy has had a big role in influencing Western academic theology. So when you meet one of these top academic theologians who's written a book and written a number of books and has a great reputation, and then tells you that Genesis 1, 2 and 3 is allegorical and poetical, and that they have the hermeneutical skills to tell you that that is the case, and then they'll tell you that what they're saying is more biblical than the orthodox, more biblical than the creationist, because they're looking at it more in its cultural context. And when they talk like this, it seems very, very persuasive, and they seem to be more academically and hermeneutically astute than the Orthodox and creationist. So how do we deal with these theologians? I've given you the answer. The answer is that the public are not aware that there's a lot of philosophy going on with these biologos theologians, that many of the hermeneutical tools that they've imbibed are philosophically influenced. So, for example, I'll give you an example. A lot of academic theological books have talked a lot about community. They write books on the Trinity and connect it to the community. They'll write books on the life of Jesus, the historical Jesus, and connect it to the community. So it's community. Every big, massive academic book concerning theology from these kind of theologians will have a theme, for example, community. So you think, well, this is biblical, they're getting this from the Bible. But what you don't realize is in the 19th century, there was a big influence by a socialist where they talked about community. And academic theologians in the West were influenced by socialism and brought that kind of language into their theological writing. Now, you wouldn't know that when you're reading these big theological tomes. You just read it and you think, oh, well, these theologians are being biblical. They're quoting the Bible. They're talking about community. They're quoting verses from the Bible. Oh, it's wonderful. But you don't realize that actually these theologians have actually imbibed hermeneutical tools from the 19th century concerning socialism and dressed it up in biblical language. So what I'm saying is, when these theologians tell you that Genesis 1 and 2 and 3 are poetical and allegorical and they're being more biblical and they're showing you how biblical they are, just be very cautious, because if you scratch behind what they're saying, a lot of what they're saying will be influenced by philosophical tools that have crept into the hermeneutical method. So just be mindful of that, and don't be intimidated by these top academic theologians when they start on the TV or on YouTube or when they write books on this issue. Don't be intimidated by them. What you need to do is find out about where they've studied, who they've read, who they're influenced by, and then you'll get a bit of an idea where they're coming from when they're writing on a particular topic. You'll see that actually they're not as biblical as they're making out to be. Okay? So that's the academic theologians dealt with. They are having a big impact on people, and people are feeling intimidated by these academic theologians, and you don't need to be intimidated. They will give you erudition upon erudition. They are mighty theologians. They will give you big books on these kind of topics, and they will browbeat you, and you will think, oh, Jason, look, they seem to be so biblical. But I'm telling you that they're not biblical. They seem to be biblical, but if you just scratch behind the surface and do a little research, you'll find that philosophy has got into the hermeneutical method, and other topics like sociology is creeping into a lot of hermeneutics in these modern theologians now. Psychology, cultural analysis, many different hermeneutical methods, but they're principally influenced by philosophy, have crept in, but they sugarcoat it as if they are biblical. And if you're not astute or wise to check them out, you'll be taken in by what they're saying. And that's why a lot of Christians and a lot of modern apologists today, influenced by these heavyweight theologians, have taken on the view of the idea of the idea that Genesis 1, 2 and 3 is allegorical. We'll go on to the next video and we'll continue the discussion. God bless you.